The wrong arrival, the silver Bentley, cut through the torrential downpour like a promise of warmth in a cold, wet world. Inside the sleek car, Elias Vance stared out the window. The lights of the airport terminal smearing across the glass like drowned stars. $1 million deal had just evaporated in a boardroom in Tokyo, and the emptiness it left behind was a familiar, aching void. He was 35, a man who commanded empires with a single word, yet he couldn't command a single moment of genuine peace. The chauffeur, a silent silhouette in the front, had been instructed to collect Mr. Alistair Finch, his only friend from a life before the fortune, a man whose loyalty wasn't for sale. Across the bustling arrivals lane, Lily stood clutching a wilting welcome home, Chloe. Sin, her heart hammering a frantic rhythm against her ribs. The rain had soaked through her thin jacket and she shivered, not just from the cold. Her older sister, Chloe, the vibrant, dazzling one, was supposed to be on this flight. But a last-minute, tearful phone call from Barcelona had changed everything. Lils, I met someone. I'm not coming back. Not yet. Please, don't be mad. Just cover for me with Mom and Dad. Cover for her again. Always the stand-in, the understudy in the grand play of her sister's life. A text buzzed on her phone from her mother. Is she here? Is our star home? Lily's jaw tightened. Our star. She typed back, her fingers numb. Just landed. I'll get her. That's when she saw him. A man emerging from the sleek, impossible car, his posture rigid with an isolation that seemed to radiate from him in waves. He was handsome in a way that felt carved from marble-sharp jaw, stormy eyes, in a suit that probably cost more than her student loans. He scanned the crowd, his gaze sweeping over her without seeing her. He was looking for someone. Her phone buzzed again. Her mother. Ignoring it, she made a decision born of sheer, desperate frustration. Chloe had a type, successful, powerful, dramatic. This man, waiting so solemnly, fit the bill. Maybe this was one of Chloe's mysterious high-flying admirers she'd forgotten to mention. The thought was a bitter pill. If she was already here playing the part, why not see it through? Just for a moment. To feel what it was like to be Chloe, to be the one someone like that was waiting for, mustering a courage she didn't feel. Lily walked towards the Bentley, the rain plastering her hair to her cheeks. The man's eyes are startling, deep gray locked onto her. Mr. Finch? He said, his voice a low baritone that vibrated through the humid air. Lily's breath hitched. Not Chloe, a man's name. She'd made a mistake. A colossal, embarrassing mistake. But the word tumbled out before she could stop it. A fragile, hopeful lie. Yes, a flicker of something confusion crossed his face, but it was gone in an instant, replaced by a polite, distant mask. Elias Vance, your ride is here. He gestured to the open door. Trapped by her own impulsivity, Lily slid into the opulent leather interior. The door thudded shut, sealing her in a tomb of her own making. The scent of old money and sandalwood filled her senses. The car pulled away from the curb. I must admit, Elias began, his tone carefully neutral. I expected someone. Older. Alistair's descriptions were always rather colorful. Alistair. Not Chloe. Her stomach plummeted. She was in a car with a complete stranger, a millionaire named Elias Vance. Who thought she was a man named Alistair Finch? The absurdity was dizzying. He has a flair for the dramatic. Lily managed, her voice a shaky echo. She stared at her reflection in the darkened window, a pale, wide-eyed imposter. Indeed, Elias was silent for a moment, watching the rain-swept city blur past. The deal in Tokyo fell through. A $50 million handshake vanished. Alistair would have known exactly what to say. He always does. The raw, unexpected confession hung in the air. This wasn't a man boasting. It was a man confessing a weakness to who he thought was his only friend. The loneliness in his voice was a mirror to her own. Sometimes, Lily said softly, her gaze fixed on his reflection in the window, the empty spaces hurt more than the losses. Elias went very still. He turned from the window and looked at her, hurriedly looked at her for the first time. He saw the nervous tremble of her hand, the desperate honesty in her eyes, the way her damp clothes clung to her slight frame. She was nothing like the boisterous, bearded Alistair he'd known since college. "Who are you?" He asked the question. Not an accusation, but a quiet, genuine inquiry. The dam broke. The words spilled out of her in a hushed, frantic torrent. "My name is Lily. My sister, Chloe, was supposed to be on that flight. She's not coming back. I was there to pick her up, to pretend everything was normal for my parents, and I saw you, and you looked so. And I'm so sorry." She squeezed her eyes shut, waiting for the fury, the command to stop the car, the humiliation. Instead, Elias let out a long, slow breath. A strange, almost imperceptible smile touched his lips. "So, we are both waiting for ghosts tonight." He didn't throw her out. He didn't call the police. He simply accepted it. "Driver," Elias said, his voice changing, becoming decisive. "Change of plans. Take us to the Skyview Lounge." You don't have to do that," Lily stammered. "I know," he said, his gray eyes holding hers. "But your ghost left you in the rain." "My ghost didn't even show up. It seems we are both at loose ends. Indulge me for the next 2 hours." Over ridiculously expensive wine and a view of the city that made it look like a circuit board of dreams, they talked. Not as a millionaire and an imposter, but as two lonely souls. She told him about living in Chloe's perfect shadow, about her own small dreams of being a graphic designer that her family dismissed as a cute hobby. He told her about the hollow echo of his penthouse, about building a fortune that felt as substantial as smoke, about the friends who were now employees or sycophants. He listened to her, with an intensity that made her feel like the only person in the world. She made him laugh, a real, unguarded sound that seemed to surprise even him, as he walked her to the door of her modest apartment building much later. The rain had softened to a mist. The world was quiet. "I haven't talked to anyone like that in years," Elias admitted, his hands in his pockets. "Me neither," Lily whispered. He reached into his breast pocket and pulled out a card. It was stark, white, with only a name and a number embossed in black. "Elias Vance," she read aloud. "The real one," he said, a ghost of a smile on his lips. "In case you ever want to talk to him again. Without the pretense." She took the card, her fingers brushing against his. A spark, undeniable and electric, passed between them. "Good night, Elias. Good night, Lily." She watched the Bentley disappear into the night, the heavy cardstock feeling like a key in her hand. For the first time in her life, she felt seen. Not as a replacement, but as herself. It was the beginning of everything, and it was all a lie. The ghost in the photograph, 3 months later. Lily's world had transformed from shades of gray into vibrant, impossible color. Her small apartment was filled with sketches and the scent of fresh coffee. On her laptop screen, a stunning digital portfolio was open. A portfolio that had landed her a dream internship. Thanks to a recommendation from a powerful, anonymous benefactor, Elias. He was no longer the lonely CEO in the rain. To her, he was the man who brought her soup when she was sick, who remembered her favorite obscure indie band, who kissed her with a reverence that made her forget her own name. He was relentless and brilliant in business. But with her, he was quiet, patient, real. He'd carved a space for her in his life, sanctuary away from the demands of his empire. She was on her way to his penthouse, the key he'd given her a month ago, burning a hole in her pocket. It was a symbol of trust, of a future she'd never dared to imagine. She let herself in, the silence of the spacious home, a comfortable, familiar blanket. She wanted to surprise him, to have dinner ready when he returned from his late meeting. Humming. She walked towards the kitchen, passing his private study. The door was ajar, something it never was. A sliver of light spilled onto the polished floor. Curiosity, that old fatal flaw, tugged at her. She pushed the door open. It was a room of dark wood and leather, smelling of him. His desk was a monolith of tidy organization. But it wasn't the desk that caught her eye. It was a small, silver frame sitting discreetly on the corner. Her blood ran cold. It was a photograph of a young woman, laughing, her head thrown back, her hair a cascade of sunlight. She was vibrant, beautiful, and utterly, unmistakably familiar. It was Chloe. Lily's legs gave way. She stumbled to the desk, her hand trembling as she picked up the frame. It was her sister, but a younger version from years ago. On the back, in a faded script, was written to E. my everything. Forever, see, the world tilted. The air vanished from her lungs. E. Elias. C. Chloe. The pieces, sharp and cruel, began to click into place. The airport. His initial confusion, his strange acceptance of her lie, his immediate intense interest. It wasn't fate. It wasn't a beautiful accident. It was a calculation. The front door clicked open. "Lily, are you here?" Elias's voice echoed through the penthouse, warm and loving. She couldn't speak. She stood frozen in the study, the photograph clutched in her white-knuckled hand. He found her there. His smile faded as he saw her face, saw the frame in her grip. The color drained from his own. "Lily," he said, his voice tight, "you knew." She whispered, the words tearing from a raw throat. "You knew who I was from the beginning." Elias didn't deny it. He simply stood there, his shoulders slumping, the powerful CEO replaced by a man caught in a terrible truth. Not at first. Not in the car. But when you said your name was Lily, and your sister was Chloe, it was too much of a coincidence. "My Chloe, the one who left me? Left you?" Lily's voice was a broken thing. 7 years ago, he said, his gaze fixed on the photograph in her hand. "I was just starting out, nothing but ambition and debt." She said she couldn't handle the uncertainty. She wanted a life of guaranteed glamour. She left for Europe, married a Spanish hotel magnate a year later. The old hurt was still there, etched in the lines around his eyes. The Alistair I was supposed to pick up, he was the one who told me she'd left. He was the only one who knew how destroyed I was. The final, devastating piece of the puzzle slammed into place. The lonely CEO at the airport. He wasn't just waiting for a friend. He was a man perpetually waiting for the ghost of the woman who had shattered him, and I was her replacement. Lily said, the words tasting like ash. A cheaper, simpler version. A living, breathing monument to the woman you could never have. Was this your plan? To pick up her sister and... What? Relive your glory days? Get revenge on her family? No. God, no, Lily. He took a step forward, but she flinched back as if burned. It started as curiosity, a strange twist of fate. I wanted to see the sister of the woman who broke my heart. I wanted to see what she was like. And, Lily demanded, tears streaming down her face now, did I measure up? Was I a satisfactory understudy? You were everything she wasn't. He burst out, his composure finally cracking. You were real and kind, and you saw the man behind the money. What started as curiosity became real for me, Lily. What I feel for you is real. It's the most real thing I've ever had. He meant it. She could see the desperate sincerity in his eyes. And that was the most heartbreaking part of all. He truly believed it. But she saw the truth now with horrifying clarity. Every tender moment, every shared confidence, every promise of a future was all built on the ghost of her sister. He hadn't fallen for Lily. He'd fallen for a chance to rewrite his past with Chloe, using a more compliant actress. She was just a stand-in, not just for her parents at the airport, but for the great love of Elias Vance's life. The key in her pocket felt like a shard of ice. She slowly placed the photograph back on the desk. The image of her sister's laughing face, a final, cruel mockery. You built this beautiful thing between us on a lie, she said, her voice eerily calm. You didn't love me? You loved the idea of healing an old wound. And I was just the bandage. Lily, please. She walked past him, out of the study, out of the penthouse, out of the beautiful, heartbreaking lie. He didn't try to stop her. He knew the truth had already done its work. Down on the street, the city lights were just as bright, but the magic was gone. The fairy tale was over. She had replaced her sister at the airport pickup, and in doing so, She hadn't found her own prince. She had merely been cast as the star in another woman's love story, a story that had ended long before she ever arrived, leaving her with nothing but the devastating echo of a love that was never truly hers to begin with.